Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So, back on, and I think I'm going to go ahead of the couple jobs I've got left. I'm going to go ahead and work on the plowing that needs to happen right away. Or not right away, but needs to happen next. So we've got plowing and soil sampling as work out there that needs to get done. So basically the 3 fields that had hemp on them, just as before, are going to need to be plowed. So I'm going to head over and do that, which is 89, 97, and 98, unless I start to see something else on my map. And then soil sampling is nearly everything. So, but yeah, 30, even though it's showing, it's because I just jumped on the server, and as I mentioned, until the server basically, as it draws here, it kind of seems to refresh on the map, and so it obviously does continue to draw other times, but it takes a little while. So I'm sure like once I'm done plowing 89 for a bit, because as we'll see when I get over here on the corner, it's going to show up as needing to be plowed. It's not going to clear like it did on the other one. So there you go. 88 clears, but 89 does not. But eventually, a lot of this will start to vanish, as we just saw there on the edges. And I'll have to go ahead and work on the spaces I need to on 97, 98, but I'll see those up there. So there's a possibility, that I won't be doing all this work, that the individual who wants to help will do so, but looks like maybe today they've gone ahead and done some other work. And that's part of, again, the challenge that I'll have, because it took me a little longer to be able to take a peek here than I had hoped, and in the interim, there wasn't any work done by the farmhand, and that's okay. I mean, again, they're not required to do things. They obviously are playing a game just like I am in FSN here, and if they can get on, great. If they can't, they can't. At the end of the day, the farm's my responsibility. But what I need to decide, and what's a bit of the challenge with all this, is, I can already see on how I'm feeling a little bit of the challenge is accurate of why I was like, I'm not sure I want to get into that. Because I can't say that I wasn't hoping that I would get on and see a bunch of stuff completed. So I've still got my customs contracts pending. The only thing that was taken care of was the hemp that was a verification. Obviously that's easy. That didn't require anyone to get into trucks and run things. But the other root crops are still pending getting done, because they're not showing up in my warehouse. So once those show up, I'll put them for sale. But I have gone ahead and posted the hemp at 1100 a liter, which is a bit aggressive, but given the amount of effort I put in, I'm trying to milk every little bit out of it I can so that I can maximize that profit. And we'll see, this may be something that at the end of the 30 days I determine the price was too aggressive, because I have a lot of it unsold. But it's a little bit of a test of the resource exchange within FSN and how it's going to work and function, because basically it's only about $5 below the average price on the server, where normally I'm giving more of a break than that, where I'm letting the price be 20, 30 per liter below, and that's usually also on things that are about half the price to begin with. So talking about, like, maybe $500, $550, and I am putting it down $20 or $30 below the average price. And here I'm just going $5 below at double the price. So that certainly is going to likely mean I'm going to have slower sales. But if I sell it all within 30 days, that's still fine, because it's not as if I'm looking for a lot of things to come in. There has been one sale on the oats. I think it was about 20,000 liters, so I think it created like 14 or 15,000 in sales, so made up about 15 of the 20,000 that it had cost me to post those contracts. But posting just the hemp itself was nearly $20,000 fee to post that. But once money starts rolling in from that, it's going to be a similar type of makeup, because basically the fee is just a straight percentage of the quantity and dollars that you put in essence, what you're supposed to make if it all sells. I don't remember if it's like 2%, 5%. I think it's less than 10%, certainly. So the fee was big, but we're also talking about 1.2 million. So yeah, that was the other worry I had, is, obviously I sold 60 bales and was like, is this suddenly going to tell me I have 60 liters? Like, somehow is it wrong and not working right? And but it worked, so that's all good. And I also didn't take a look, because I do believe he's collected all the bales, which would be extra work that I hadn't done and would have had to do. So at some point, probably when I'm soil sampling or something, I'll see what's over there in the hemp storage and how many more bales he got off the field, because that's also part of what is going to go in total into the sales. Is I won't have all the hemp sold right away unless I decide that there's enough bales in there that I'm going to go ahead and do the sale immediately, because it is only $150 to put up that store. So obviously if I'm making $1,100 a liter and a bale's 20,000 liters, $150 is really not much. So I may go ahead and choose to process that through, because I frankly don't know if and when I'm going to run hemp again. But I guess before I do that, or at least put something back on its place, I am going to make a decision, because I think I may, at this point, put two of the same kind up if I think I'm going to get that quantity, so that we can just continue to fill things, because at this point what I'm trying to target is which of the three crops, tobacco, hemp, or cotton, am I going to grow, because they're the largest bang for my buck and time. So some of the conversation I was having with was just being upfront about what I'm thinking through. And a lot of that centers around, if 88 and 87 come up for sale, if I am committed to having some outside help, those become more viable as something that's acceptable, because even if I get just a little bit of help, at that point it's 2 of 9 fields that I would own, and obviously basically about 20% or 15% of the acreage, probably. It may be a little higher, because again 98 is pretty tiny, but the rest are I think between 20 and 30 acres each, so they're similar in size. That's the thing. If I get people to help out 5-6 hours a week, that might be enough to make those fields viable, because they can offset that extra work. And other than harvest, that would probably kind of be enough time. This is probably only going to add a couple hours in planting time. The biggest issue is it would add about 4 hours of harvest time. But even with that, that's just 6 hours across those 2 fields. So if I can get 6 hours covered by contractors, it wouldn't create any extra workload for me. The biggest challenge would be, unfortunately, the possibility of the need of duplicating some of my equipment, because if they're on when I'm on, and say it's harvest time and we're all harvesting, well, now suddenly I need 2 harvesters. Otherwise, if they pop on and I'm not willing to step away, or even if I am, then we're not getting the same amount of time done. It's just right now, obviously, if I've got folks in other time zones than I am, in theory they might be working when I'm not, but they also may choose to not do that because they don't like working in the dark. So that's still part of my challenge of trying to figure out, is this plan really viable? Because if I've got people who want to work during the day, the same time that I want to and can work. Obviously, I work at night plenty. If you've tracked any of the videos in this series, you know that. But some folks just won't do that. And this morning was certainly an exception, because even for me, I didn't capture that video, but it was darker than I've ever seen it, and some of that may simply have been the type of work I was doing. I've never been trying to pick up bales like that in a field when it's dark, and I just could not see the bales. It wasn't that they were difficult to see. It was virtually impossible to see them until I was basically on top of them. And so if I misjudged where I thought I needed to go and I wasn't nearby, pulling forward the amount I needed to make an adjustment made them invisible again. And that's why it took me 10 minutes to pick up 2 bales, where once it became even slightly light and I could see the bales at all times, I could pick up 2 bales in a minute or 2. So it was a substantial difference. And so that job I wouldn't wish on anybody overnight, but all the other jobs certainly are workable. It's just not as pleasant to sit and view if you're doing those things. So as I said, at this point, my plan for any of the remaining work right now is plowing 89, 97, 98, and then sampling literally every other field I have, other than the fields I sampled last time, which were all of 29 and a portion of 30. I want to say half, but I think I actually maybe have like 2/3 of 30 sampled. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And as mentioned in the previous video, I'm not really going to be showing a lot more of what is happening after that, just because I'm not sure that folks are really interested in watching it, and it's hard to capture that and pass it along, and that'll give me other options in the future, especially if I do get a slew of contractors working. One of the things that will open up is I could then be spending time in FS22 while they're doing the majority of the work here, and then the videos in this series become a lot of summary of work that was done, and you'll start seeing a lot more content in other areas, because that's where I'll be able to spend my time. So that's some of what's running through my head right now, and what I'm contemplating on doing, and we'll see how everything plays out over the next few days and weeks. So I will see you in a bit.